Hello and welcome to Catholic Focus, coming to you from Vallendar, Germany, the home of the Schoenstatt movement. It was here, in this valley, in 1914 that Father Joseph Kentenich, a young Pallotine father at the time, began meeting with some of his students. They were young seminarians who had joined the Pallotine order. They took to Father Kentenich and wanted guidance and support from him, but the only place they could meet was a small abandoned chapel in the middle of a cemetery. Nearly 100 years later, this valley and the mountains around it represent the Schoenstatt movement. Each branch of the movement has its own mountain. Joseph Kentenich was born November 18, 1885, in a small town near Cologne, Germany. He felt called to the priesthood and eventually entered the Pallotine order. He became a priest in 1910 and served as spiritual director at the Pallotine Minor Seminary in Vallendar. Father Kentenich believed a priest should be both a father and an educator, and the basis of both should be love. During the Second World War, he was imprisoned in Dachau, but continued serving the Lord. Later in his life, he was sent to the United States while the Schoenstatt Community was investigated by the Vatican. Eventually, the community was granted papal approval, and Father Kentenich returned to Germany. He died in Vallendar in the sacristy of the Church of the Adoration and is buried there today.
He wanted to educate a new person, a person who is able to combat with this modern world of ours and to unite and to form. And he often said that our modern time has lost the father picture. And from this point of view, the main thing why they have also lost the relation to God. God is a father, God has created us and God is caring for us. And when we haven't got God as a father, then it's very difficult to master life. And Father Kentenich, he realized that this father picture has to come back into our world. And that's why he also stressed very much family movement, that new fathers are formed and educated.
Father Kentenich became spiritual director to a group of rebellious students from the seminary who would meet in an abandoned chapel. Soon other people were drawn to this informal community, and by 1926, Father Kentenich had set up secular institutes for women and men and priests. When war broke out in Germany, he was detained and sent to Dachau, and there, in 1942, the Schoenstatt Family Institute was founded. Father Kentenich always discerned carefully and made sure that he was doing God's will, not his own. This spirit draws a variety of people to Schoenstatt's different institutes.
When I was a boy, about 12 years old, my family got in touch with Schoenstatt in southwest Minnesota. The Schoenstatt Sisters of Mary worked in my hometown and offered things for families, and so my family got involved. And it was a great blessing for us. So through that contact, and we were drawn into the Schoenstatt movement, and I also met the Schoenstatt fathers, and so was eventually drawn into becoming a Schoenstatt father.
I was in the Schoenstatt youth and with the young girls, and then I saw a Marian sister, and they didn't wear habit. And then I thought, I was 12 years, I can remember very, very well. I thought, if I don't marry, I want to find a community where I needn't wear a habit, because I want to stay as a lay woman and I want to wear nice dresses.
I came in contact with Schoenstatt through a sister who traveled from Minnesota. She came 2 weeks out of every month and led groups. And I joined a youth group at that time, learned about the covenant of love, and was drawn into it for the next couple years. And at the end of that period of 2 years or so, I came to Schoenstatt for the first time. And here I encountered original Schoenstatt. I actually sealed the covenant of love in the original shrine.
And so I asked where are the ladies from Schoenstatt. I discovered some interested people. And then I asked one of them, don't you have ladies of Schoenstatt in England, for example? The idea was I wanted to know whether it's really possible to live in a profession and to be consecrated to God, to live poverty, to live castedness and obedience. And then I went to England and I lived with this lady, and then I was convinced, yes, it's possible, and then I tried it, and so I went, and I'm there now for many, many years, and I'm still convinced that it is a wonderful vocation, and I hope that we find many people, many ladies who also want to live it.
When you think about southern India, from our culture, we are very much pious people, and we are very much devoted to Blessed Mother. And when I came to Alo, that is the first shrine where we have in Alo, where all the first pioneers of Schoenstatt Fathers were formed, there is a Schoenstatt shrine. And without knowing much about the Schoenstatt spirituality, the three graces that is flowing from the shrine, I used to visit the shrine minimum 3 or 4 times in a day. And automatically, I developed an attachment to Blessed Mother.
What draws so many different people to the movement Father Kentenich founded here?
Schoenstatt is a Marian movement, and the devotion to Our Lady is in many countries very much alive.
Well, probably the simplest thing is to say we're a Catholic movement of renewal. So the Church always is in need of fresh impulses, fresh life. And Schoenstatt has, from the beginning in 1914, really discovered how to do that through devotion to the Blessed Mother, but not just devotion in terms of prayers, but devotion in terms of a deep personal connection to Mary anchored in our Schoenstatt shrine.
This was the whole idea that really drew me into Schoenstatt. I was a young person when I started in Schoenstatt. I was about 16 years old. And this idea of the covenant of love, that we can, in the covenant of love with Mary, educate ourselves to become holy, to live lives of joyful surrender out of love for God and for the sake of those entrusted to us, stole my heart. The covenant is a type of consecration to Mary, but it's not simply a consecration from our side where we give ourselves to the Blessed Mother. It's rather a two-way consecration, so a mutual consecration. I tell the Blessed Mother I want to place myself completely at your disposal so that you can use me as you wish and form me into your instrument and let me become fruitful for the mission that you have from the shrine. And then she, from her side, says, okay, and I will educate you, I will form you, I will give you the graces you need, I will be with you in my motherly nearness so that you can really achieve this.
Every member of Schoenstatt at some point makes the covenant of love with Our Lady. This carries responsibilities, but can bring many graces.
This is what the covenant of love is all about, actually, that the Blessed Mother, our Mother thrice admirable, takes our hearts in her hand and forms them into likenesses of her own heart, and then that we do our part then and offer her all of our own efforts to strive for this holiness. We bring her, for example, our sacrifices, our joys, our efforts to overcome our sins, our faults. We strive to perfect our abilities, our strengths, and simply to reach out for oneness with the will of God, but in our everyday lives. It's not something that's out of the ordinary. And the most beautiful thing about this for me was the idea that the Blessed Mother then takes all of these things and makes them fruitful for others. It's what we call in Schoenstatt the capital of grace. And it's this idea that the Blessed Mother has a treasury of graces, so to speak, and we can offer her all of these things to the treasury of grace, and she then turns around and can dispense these graces to others, to all those who need them, to those who come to the shrine in faith.
In 1914, Schoenstatt was founded. In 1926, he founded our Sisters Community, and from the very beginning, he was clear that the sisters should have a special important part in the Schoenstatt work as it was starting to grow. And, but he had this idea himself, he did not speak about it. And already a few years later, in the sisters community, in these young people who entered at that time, they had the idea they would like to make a kind of mission evening in order to express that they have the idea that Schoenstatt should go overseas and build up Schoenstatt there too. And Father Kentenich was very happy with that because it made his ideas, and so from this point of view he praised them for their efforts and said, carry on with your ideas, but not more. He did not say anything to it. He wanted to see, does God want it, or do the sisters only want it? So it has to grow by itself.
An important place for Schoenstatt's spirituality is the original shrine where Father Kentenich first sealed the covenant of love with Our Lady.
It's interesting, in 1914, with the founding generation, in a very small way, with Father Kentenich encouraging them to discover the Blessed Mother, they began to realize, if I give my heart to her, I become more of who I am called to be. I discover that I'm meant to be called to be a saint, really. That already came up in 1914. How can we really become saints? It was originally the St. Michael's Chapel, so an old cemetery chapel with roots going back to the Middle Ages. And it had been a chapel for a while, but then was just a tool shed at the time. And so the superior said, okay, it's not really meant to be a tool shed. Why don't you use it for something worthwhile? And as Father Kentenich thought about that with all the other things in the air, he began to wonder, is God asking us, is He inviting us to draw the Blessed Mother down according to what's happening here, and to offer our efforts to be saints, to offer our contributions to the capital of grace as it came to be called. We give our striving, and at the same time to ask, okay, Blessed Mother, we can't become saints without you. And so then the shrine becomes this place where the young men begin to feel, this is really where my spiritual life has roots, where it grows legs, if you will. So it begins to grow and begins to take off, also because I'm not alone. And that was especially important in the war setting. Those that were still here, that were too young to be drafted then, prayed and strived and wrote letters to those that were out in the war, and those who were out in the front, then they wrote back. And you had a very interesting sense of community that developed. And so the shrine really is a whole microcosm of good, solid Catholic life.
Originally, we had the idea that there is only one shrine. I still grew up with that idea. There is no second shrine, only the one shrine. And when our sisters in Argentina realized that they cannot bring Schoenstatt properly to the people without having the shrine, they built on their own initiative. It was wartime. They could not have contact with Germany. They built a shrine there. And that was in 1943. Father Kentenich heard about it in Dachau during his exile. And then he realized that it was divine providence. And that was the wish of God, that the shrine should be built in other countries too.
And the sisters tried to explain Schoenstatt to the people there, and there's this wonderful place and this wonderful mission, and the Blessed Mother, and so hear these prayers, and it just didn't sink in, and they couldn't get it across. And this was also during the war, And Father Kentenich was in the concentration camp. They couldn't ask a lot of questions. They had to think, what can we do now? What is God asking of us? And they said, okay, what we think we really need to do is we need to build a shrine just like the one in Schoenstatt. They had all grown up with this place as their spiritual home. And it's interesting how as soon as they built the shrine, the people came and said, oh, sister, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you say it was like that?
Today, wherever there's a stable Schoenstatt community, there's also a shrine that is the exact replica of the original shrine in Vallendar.
A shrine can only be built when there are people who offer their gifts and efforts to Our Lady that we can settle down. So a shrine is not foreign in a country, but it's built by the people. And this is a simple idea which I can mention here. Each shrine is exactly the same. So this keeps the contact with here, with the place of origin where it has started, but each surrounding of the shrine is original. And when you look around, this is most interesting. Each country has something which is original to the country, which makes the people feel at home.
So you have this little place of grace, a shrine that holds 25 or 30 people. It really gives you the feeling of being at home and somehow anchoring the soul, and in that way being able to gain inner strength and courage to really be apostles and witnesses in the world of today. And so that impulse coming from our Schoenstatt shrine really carries a lot of different initiatives around the world, both in terms of family renewal, youth work. We have social activities, so social in terms of social renewal, outreach to the poor and the needy, educational projects, and many things like that, depending on the different countries.
Schoenstatters learn to read God's message and understand what He's saying through the stirrings of people's hearts and the world around them.
The Blessed Mother was always looking for God's plan, trying to listen, to follow His word, and Father Kentenich, our founder, was always someone with a strong sensitivity to how the world around him was somehow a message from God. What is God doing in the times? What is God doing in the developments in people's hearts and souls? And we like to talk nowadays, using his word, about the God of life. So God is speaking to us through our lives, through the things that happen, the things that move in my heart, and then to try and listen to that, like the Blessed Mother, to listen, to understand, and to respond.
If a young lady is interested in her profession and in work and in to make, I don't know, to illustrate and so on, to make culture, to be a part of this culture, then she should look for a secular institute. For example, for us, if she also likes Father Kentenich, if she wants to live out of the shrine and so on. Yeah, but we have to serve her vocation, not to come to us. No, we have to hear what is her vocation and what's the will of God. And if it is the will of God that she comes to our institute, we are happy. But God's will is the main point. Yeah.
In many places, Schoenstatt is known for its Pilgrim Mother campaign. The campaign began in Brazil in 1950 with John Potsabon, a member of the Family Institute. A sister asked him to take the image of Mary Mother Thrice Admirable to families so they could gather together to pray the Rosary with her. For 35 years, he took Mary to homes, hospitals, and prisons, fostering a love for Mary and the Rosary. This campaign continues today and reaches countless people around the world.
So in the beginning years, in 1980s and 1990s, we were not able to build up the Schoenstatt movement much. But now we have fathers working in all the 3 states in the movement. First, the open door for the Schoenstatt movement in all the 3 states, I mean Bangalore, now it is called Bengaluru, and in Tamil Nadu and in Kerala, it was through the Pilgrim Mother movement. So, because it was an easy open door for us to go to the parishes, because when you say Mother is visiting you, whether can we bring the picture of Blessed Mother to your home, somehow the people were attracted.
Nearly 100 years after it was founded, the Schoenstatt movement is present around the world. And although there is no sanctuary in Canada, members of the Schoenstatt community are present in various parts of Canada. For more information about Schoenstatt or anything else in this episode, write to us at focus@saltandlighttv.org. For Catholic Focus, I'm Alicia Ambrosio in Vallendar, Germany.